Hello, Rishi. Thank you so much for joining the GCC video series on marketing, comms, and change. And I'm really, really thrilled to have you on the show. I know you have done really well for yourself, have also been, a pioneer in changing how we think about comms and branding and change. And therefore, I thought you would be the right person to give us some guidance and advice. So before we get started, for the benefit of our viewers, if you could quickly introduce yourself and talk about your the role with GCC you're part of. So over to you.
Thanks, Anisu. I thank you for the lovely introduction. I don't think I can give advice here, but yes, definitely this conversation is about two people, two commerce professionals having a conversation, and hopefully it'll help your audience derive some insights out of it. I have about 20 years of experience in communications, marketing, PR, and brand building, largely in financial services, ranging from banking, wealth management, insurance, car leasing, retail brokerage, and financial services GCC. I truly, enjoy being in the financial services, and really makes me happy that I have found my calling not just as a comms professional, but also as a comms professional in the financial services GCC. So
Fantastic.
that's it from me.
That's great. I mean, I can see that you have a breadth of experience. Also, you're kind of gone in depth into a lot of things, and especially with the GCC market exploding, and there's a whole lot of GCCs entering India. What I wanted to understand from you are a few topics which we'll cover. One is, employer branding, change management. How do you bridge headquarters versus local realities? What are some of the opportunities for other GCC communicators out there? So let me begin by asking so in terms of how do you describe the maturity of, say, employer branding, change management in your organization, in your GCC today?
So for me, I'm going to remove my headset, okay? So
Sure.
just don't
Yeah, that's
mind.
fine. Yeah,
It's
that's
really
fine.
not working out. So for me, internal communications is not just a department that transmits information, it also translates into local context. So I am someone who truly believes in the fact that how you are working in a matrix global organization, but there is
Mhm.
also local nuance, which is what you are supposed to bring in, as a team.
Right.
So what we definitely look at is how do we ensure that whatever global communication comes in has that element of local nuance added to it.
Hmm.
You cannot just become, a transmission channel, but you also become a translation channel.
Okay.
That is what I, value internal communications for.
Fantastic. Okay. And I know we've had this chat before, about how, communicators should think differently about the way the function should be led. And I know you have done some path breaking stuff, which I wanted to obviously bring surface. So, for example, most communicators think of their work very tactically because they are dictated a lot by what headquarters tells them. But you have thought about it differently. So, what is your philosophy? How do you kind of approach this, dichotomy between trying to balance what the headquarters is trying to say and versus what you think local realities are. So how do you kind of go about it?
It starts with knowing the business.
Hmm.
Once you know the business, you are given access to the room.
Hmm.
Once you know how to speak in business language, you're giving a seat at the table.
Hmm.
But if you are going to be someone who's going to believe that whatever I get from the global and I'm going to just put it out there,
Hmm.
then you will be treated like an executor. So the
Right.
first thing that I do, all my team members, is know your business.
Mm.
It's very important to know the business that you're operating. Where does the company run its operations from? How does the money flow in?
Mm.
How do they pay the salaries? How
Mm.
do you get entire machinery working?
Mm.
Once you know the business, you get access to it. Once you speak in that language, you get a seat at the table. So I
Mm.
believe in that concept.
Right.
And one of the reasons why I want to ensure that communications or even marketing, which is what I do both,
Mm-hmm.
become a strategic enabler, a strategic function where you get respected and not necessarily loved for what you do. So I
Mm.
think it's very important to be respected. And the only way to get respect is to know the business. You should know what is the bread and butter of this company and
Right.
how do they run. It doesn't matter where they are. It could
Mm.
be 5,000 miles away, 10 miles away. It doesn't matter. Just know what the business is.
Got it. Fantastic. No, I like the fact that you also talked about access to the room, knowing, whether you have the seat at the table. But, a lot of communicators struggle because they are stuck with the basics, like they are trying to manage channels, they're just trying to write content. But I know that you have thought beyond that, and you are now thinking of not just being looked at as a cost center, but more like a growth enabler for the organization. So how have you gone about that journey, and what has been the approach you've taken?
So it's been not an easy journey, but it's also not, that's the beauty of it. It's been exciting. When I started out, or when you start out in any company, I'll probably give you a context of my GCC community, communicator community that I have. All of us, when we start out, we are treated like, okay, you will execute so and so events,
Hmm.
in a company. And these are some truth bombs I'm going to, throw in at you. So hopefully,
Absolutely.
your audience enjoy this process. Uh, you do, with all due respect to anybody who's doing communications, I think a lot of them focus on internal events.
Hmm.
It could be annual day, sports day, bring your
Correct.
kids day at work. And
Right.
then that's okay, that's the job that the communications team has to do.
Hmm.
What I've been very intentional about is the fact that engagement is not the communications responsibility. Engagement is the company's responsibility. And there are people in the company that you can build a community of. And what we have done is really, and I've seen that, and I've done that in past companies also, where you bring in together a key group of people who are
Hmm.
interested in doing something for the company, and they get a lot of excitement out of that because
Hmm.
they're doing their day jobs, and that excites them because it's a lot of work to be done. I mean, it takes a village to put up an event.
Right.
What communication is pre-event communications planning, on the ground communications planning, and post event storytelling,
Hmm.
which just storytelling. We don't necessarily look at logistics and event management. And
Right.
that is what the beauty of, changing that narrative, changing that perception, that communication here is to support the event, get amplification
Hmm.
and not get. So that's the difference you bring in.
Hmm.
That gives you bandwidth
Right.
to then at other stuff. And the other stuff means is building a center of excellence,
Hmm.
building, how you can work towards ensuring that you can, with AI coming in, a lot of work can be transferable. You don't have to be seated in a particular location to be able to do that. So that's when it gives you bandwidth. A lot of them get consumed in engagement events throughout the year because then you don't have the bandwidth to think
Correct.
of what else can be. And I've been very intentional with my team that how do we ensure we become a growth enabler for the firm?
Hmm.
How do we ensure that we are aligning ourselves with the global goals, not
Right.
just the India goals? It's important to be at that intersection of all of this because that's when you would get the local nuance and the global expertise.
Correct.
Otherwise, you will just be in between trying to figure out the balance. This gives you that opportunity to really, you know, be a truly global marketing communications functions in a global GCC, not a local communications function in a global GCC.
Fantastic. No, I think this is really pioneering, I would say, because not many GCC comms and marketing functions have attempted this, and I know they may have attempted and they may have failed. But so, when you went about this journey, what were some of the challenges, some of the pushbacks, the perceptions that you faced?
So, challenges was obviously, your predecessor or your people that are there have already done this. Why do you want to change it? So
Right.
any change you bring in, you will have some challenges. You'll have people saying, why are you making this change? Why do you want to do this? The idea is to not get bogged down by it and make sure that you are, believing in that concept. Obviously, get your stakeholders, key opinion leaders within the firm, back you up, and then it becomes easier. And what we have done, is to really ensuring that some of the stuff you get templatized, you can show it as templates. I've done that in my previous company also. That gives you that opportunity to say, okay, this is the kind of work that you have done so far. You can do that, moving forward in terms of just having some of the templates ready. You can use AI, all these templates, and now it's very easy to do that and say, okay, these are the stuff that you're doing throughout the year. Some of the things are repetitive, so you just say, okay, why don't you use templates of that? Put the material, put the content, send it to us for review, and continue doing that. The other challenge, obviously, is you would want to win the trust of the global teams. That okay, this
Right.
can deliver. Far away from the local, far away from the original location of where the function is seated. So that's where you bring, you know, that whole concept of building the trust, building processes to ensure that you are partnering with them.
Right.
It takes, it's not going to happen overnight. It's a journey that you have to take. But the point is, are you taking that journey? Are you going confident about taking that journey, or are you going to be insecure and scared about taking that journey?
Right.
This is pushing out of our comfort zone. This is pushing out of each one of us and saying, let's give it a shot. This is moving away from a project mindset to a business mindset, because you're actually then asking them to, you know, give us some of the work that you are doing and we can partner with you from here.
Right.
So it's really that you have to bring in. And some may want to say, okay, I'm doing for 20 years, why rock the boat? Some may
Right.
want to say, okay, no, I want to change the narrative because you want to build a path for others to follow, for others to see, okay, this is also possible.
Right.
And personally, I'm always a of the art of possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I pushing the envelope. I mean, that's my personal belief, and sometimes it's a road less traveled,
Mm.
but I'm happy I'm traveling that road,
Right.
rather than just sitting in the fence.
Correct. No, I think that's fascinating, and I like the key word to me was partnering, and the fact that when you partner with your headquarters, then obviously you're taking them in the journey, and they feel that they're involved. So, if I were to ask you, where do you think the headquarters really underestimates the value of employer branding or change and the risks of being invisible on the ground locally? Because we have about 1,800 plus GCCs in India, and it's growing. So, obviously to stand out, you need to do something different locally compared to a headquarters, which doesn't really need to bother too much. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it starts with first having a direct conversation with them, make them understand what are the cultural nuances of the local market.
Hmm.
Uh, be there from the start of the campaign
Hmm.
rather than midway or the end. Okay, we need to think of India. It's important to be at the start so that you can bring in all your insights at the beginning of the conversation.
Hmm.
Um, they are far off. Let's understand that. They are not looking, they have other markets to cater to.
Right.
So they be like, okay, what are you doing as a communications marketing professional to build that bridge? You've been hired to build that bridge. And it's important for you to build that bridge and ensure that they see the other side of the bridge.
Right.
But if you're going to be in one mountain, another person's going in another mountain, and you're not building that bridge, so nobody's going to see it. So
Right.
it's really bringing the parties together, ensuring that you give them the information, you give them insights that are local in nature, so that they're able to then devise a plan which brings in global element and local nuances together.
Understood. No, that's great. And the fact that you need to make them see the value of what you're doing, and I think that's really brilliant. Now, I just switching gears a bit, coming to a bit of change management per se. So there is a lot of flux which happens in GCCs. There are scale ups, there are scope shifts, there's cost pressure, there is new mandates which happen. So when you go about this entire, you know, change, programs in the organization, so how do you make that a reality compared in terms of the narratives that are done, and then how do you involve your, how do you equip your leaders to be more credible when it comes to such change? Because not everybody will believe the CEO, not everybody will believe how they communicate. So how do you kind of go about equipping them to be not just messengers but change agents?
So I measure it in two, three parameters. One is obviously how the messages have been translated to local nuance.
Hmm.
What has been the adoption rate and what has been the change.
Right.
If there is change on the ground, then internal communication has failed.
Okay.
The channel that is very, very underutilized even today, and I think that is something I see an opportunity, is people managers.
Hmm.
Uh, we need to prepare them. And people managers could be at various levels within the GCC. You could have someone with 6 years of experience becoming a people leader, and you could have someone with 15 years of experience still an IC,
Mm.
or someone with 10 years of experience being a people leader. So you see that change. You will see that parameters are very different because depending upon the size of the team and the spans of control, right? So it's important to have that people leader toolkit.
Hmm.
Build that, give it to them, and literally walk with the laptop on the floor,
Mm.
create these small with people leaders and say, this is what you need to communicate with your messaging to the teams. That is when the change happens, because you would see that community
Hmm.
helps you drive the change, the adoption that you want to bring to change management. Um, as communicators, what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to have content, which is what I see that what I always say is the 3C formula. You need to have content, you need to have consistency, and you need to have a community. Just use that formula every time that you think of a campaign. Where is my content? How am I consistent with my content? Where is my community? What will drive the message and adoption, which is the community? So for every campaign, try to build a community. They are the ones who will ensure that you're able to reach to the last denominator in the organization and say, okay, this is a change that's happening. Now, it's not just GCC, the changes are happening, it's across the board. I have friends in other companies who I connect with, I network with, I speak to,
Hmm.
because sometimes want to get perspective, and it's happening across.
Mm.
2006 is the year of change.
Mm.
It is the year of, you want to have rapid changes, and many things are going to happen, which is going to test your AQ, which is what I say, which is adaptability quotient and agility quotient. So
Mm.
I think it's something that we have to make peace with. Now imagine making peace with change.
Right. No, I think this is brilliant. I like the walk the talk, the fact that you need people to be on the ground, visible. I think that's the best way to do it. And I like the 3C formula that you articulated. Now, just quickly on the maturity of the function, I know that you talked about moving from execution to being an influencer and influencing over time. Now, what capabilities do you think GCC communicators and change communicators need in this new era, on the new world of operating?
Embedding AI,
Hmm.
very important. Um, are you comfortable with AI agents in your work structure or in your work organization?
Mm.
Um, I would say really working with that platform, working with understanding how it's going to be, changing the way we communicate, and also ensuring that your team is prepared for it. Your team
Mm.
is also looking at artificial intelligence and content, which is where, communicators are thriving at, to say how we can ensure not becoming, and I'll use the financial analogy, okay, over here. So in financial services, you have traders
Mhm.
and you have portfolio managers. Okay. you have to choose the path that you want to do. You want to be a trader who just executes, which means you just want to write comms,
Mm.
or you want to be a content portfolio manager, which is basically building content, writing content, governing content, ensuring there is no hallucination, and taking control of the channels and the
Mm.
distribution. That's your portfolio manager. The portfolio manager in financial services ensures end-to-end responsibility.
Got
So
it.
it's really now AI coming in, it is a co-pilot,
Right.
which means a co-pilot, some mistakes. You are the pilot. So how
Mm.
are you treating your job? So I look at my job as a content portfolio manager and not a trader who just executes trades. So
Mm.
that's the way I would look at, really the change that's coming in.
Right.
And I keep saying this to my teams also that please ensure that you become a content portfolio manager and not just accept everything that's coming in. You have to be able to look at a content and say, okay, this is hallucination. This is not. There's
Right.
something is missing here. And
Right.
that's where it's important to be, taking control of what you are doing.
Got it. No, this is brilliant. And I like the AI and the financial services analogy that you gave. Now, coming to measurement, so how do you measure success? So compared to the other GCCs, most of the communicators struggle with measuring how they do comms, branding, change, all of that. So how do you measure it? What are some of the ways to measure success?
So one, I mean, there are various channels that you can use. You have communication effectiveness survey that you do to
Mm.
understand, and you do it every 5 or 6 months to
Hmm.
really understand if your associates are able to grasp. As communications, when you do change management, you also do a lot of these town halls.
Mm.
And one of the questions that you can ask is, does the people who come for the town halls are able to understand the strategy,
Hmm.
are able to understand what the messaging are, and plus they feel that it's a valuable use of their time.
Right.
If they are not enjoying listening to you, then
Hmm.
there's no point telling a story. Everybody likes to tell a story. Everybody loves having an audience in front of you, but is the audience interested in listening to you? That's very
Mm.
important.
Got it.
And do less but do better.
Mm.
you know uh, Less is more, but and more, doing more of that is better.
Got it. So, yeah, and I just wanted to ask you, Rishi. So, looking ahead, so what would be really helpful, and what should change for GCC communicators to be seen as a strategic discipline rather than a support function? So, because, like you said, you need to kind of move the needle, but how do what really must change for them so that they can be be start, being visible and being seen and perceived as a strategic discipline and not a support role.
As I said in the beginning, know the business.
Hmm.
Do you know the business as much as you're supposed to know? Do you know, the kind of key opinion leaders that you're supposed to have direct access to, so that they are able to see you as a partner and not as an executor? Does your team walk the talk? You're not the only one walking the talk. If your team is also learning about the business, it's something that will be really helpful. So I do these sessions with my team, which are open book test,
Hmm.
and we have these product literature, right? So I send it to them, and 15 days later, I do a product open book test, which
Hmm.
is I'll pick up a question and say, okay, now find out which product literature, which page number this information is. Now, it gives them that motivation to really learn, understand about what is happening in the company, and also it gives them it's a fun gamification way of making them learn about the business. So
Hmm.
that's the way you should be seen as, and it's not going to happen overnight.
Hmm.
It's going to take a while. It's not something that's going to say, oh, this is the team you should invite at the beginning of the campaign, or a major communication or a major change management communication campaign.
Got it.
It's going to take time. It's going to be brick by brick till
Hmm.
you build an entire building.
Understood. No, this has been brilliant, Rishi. Thank you so much for taking the time and sharing these insights. And I know that you're on the path, which is really something which many people haven't taken, and especially the fact of, moving to a place where they are more strategic in their thinking and more intentional in how they want to go about their communication and branding and change. So, again, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Anisu. Thank you so much. It's lovely talking to you, and I'm hopeful whenever this podcast comes out, it is beneficial to the audience. I'm not here to advise. I'm here to have a conversation, and during the conversation, if something clicks with you, I'm more than happy to help. I'm always available. People can reach me on LinkedIn to have a conversation which really pushes the envelope. And you and I have been, speaking about it. How can we change the narrative for the community? So all for the community. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk to your audience.
Fantastic. Thanks again.